Yay.
All right. Welcome to the dungeon where we geek out on all things horror, thriller, mystery, and suspense. And we have a treat today. We have actually a new guest to the dungeon. We've been having some repeat guests. They come in and they just keep coming back. Um, but we have a new person here, and we have Renee. I'm going to make sure I get this right. I've been practicing long and hard. DeCamillis.
Yes, you got it.
Okay, all right. I'm not going to push my luck. I'm just going to call you Renee from now on, and if you don't mind.
Sounds good.
Nope,
I don't mind at all.
Alrighty. Well, let me just read off a blurb from your bio, and then you could fill in any other thing that that you want. It says that Renee is a horror author and editor, and the author of the psychological thriller supernatural horror novella The Bone Cutters. She is a member of the Horror Writers Association, the New England Horror Writers, and the Horror Writers of Maine. She is also, or you are also, the singer, songwriter, and rhythm guitarist of the punk metal band Scars Aligned. And you also dabble in poetry. You've done some poetry. And you also have a new book coming out late 2024 in the Phantoms from the Sky anthology. So maybe we could touch upon that. So Renee, yes, welcome to the dungeon.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Thank you. We're going to be talking about your new book coming out, Chisel the Bone. Comes out the July 23rd, 2024, which is just around the corner.
Yes.
Now, this book is the sequel to The Bone Cutters, which is the novella,
yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
Now, just so everybody knows, I have not read The Bone Cutters. I've only read Chisel the Bone, and that's so my approach to this discussion will be focused on that, and I don't know jack shit about what happened in the last book. So, for those of us like me, without getting any spoilery and stuff like that, because this is like a series that you're doing. And I'm assuming there's going to be like a third book.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's in the works.
Okay, excellent. So because this Chisel the Bone, it's a good standalone book. It takes place in a particular section of Dory's life that is standalone, but I guess it does help a bit to just by references to have the bone cutter under your belt as well. So without getting any spoilery, can you give us like a rundown of what happened thus far in Dory's life in the Bone Cutters?
Yes. In the Bone Cutters, Dory wakes up in the padded room of a psychiatric hospital with no recollection of how she wound up there. And then she soon finds out that she's been blue papered, involuntarily committed. And then she gets sent to the wrong group counseling, the wrong counseling group. She gets sent to an NA group. But when she gets there at her first meeting, she sees everybody, they're all scarred. So she assumes that it's a group of cutters, and that's not the right group for her. She is suicidal and has some anger management issues. And then she finds out that the group is not a group of your typical cutters. They actually cut into themselves and chisel their bones, and they prepare that into bone dust, and they use it as a drug.
Okay.
And then they find out she's never been, she's never tapped into her bones, so they end up after her because fresh bone dust from a non-user is the best high you can get.
Okay. What is the time period in this story? Is it present day, alternate universe type thing, or sometime in the
No, it's
future?
real. It's real world, current times.
Okay. And the staff at the psychiatric hospital, are they aware that this stuff is going on?
Well, Dory tries to tell them what she's dealing with, but they think she's delusional because of all her psychiatric diagnoses. They don't believe her.
Oh, okay. Alrighty. Interesting. Um, so what between the two books, what has there been any kind of time period lapse between the two books?
Just a couple weeks.
Just a couple weeks?
Dory ends up released from the hospital for her safety. So the Chisel the Bone takes place soon after her release.
Okay. All right. So, but we well, first of all, we start off with the prologue, and holy shit, to bed. It's like, talk about jumping into the deep end of the pool right off the bat. Yeah, the even before we get to chapter one, it's like the description of stuff like that is like, uh, if the movie Saw was made into a book, that's what I kind of got the vibes of. It's like, oh wow. So now this new drug that's I guess is real hot on the streets. So how do they take it? Do they sniff it? Do they inject it? What do they do with it?
Well,
What kind
they
of
can
high do they
snort
get
it.
from it?
They can snort it, smoke it. They can ingest it, because it's dust, so it can't be injected like a liquid. Um, yeah, and Dory's trying to really figure out what kind of high they get. It's kind of like a heroin addiction. She's trying to figure out, but she's like, it seems like cocaine. But it's highly addictive, like more like heroin.
okay, so she is not a user.
No, she's not a user.
Okay. All right, so we coming from that story, we go with Dory and her best friend and roommate Jill. Now, is Jill a brand new character from the Chisel the Bone, or did people meet her in the Bone Cutters?
She's only thought about in the Bone Cutters in Dory's thoughts. Dory does talk about her.
Okay.
Because of how once she remembers how she wound up in the psychiatric hospital, it's linked to Jill and the guy she brought home.
Okay. All right. So I get that we got to read the Bone Cutters to get this. Now, I want to go off on a bit of a tangent. The Bone Cutters, when that was published, that was with another publisher.
Yes.
And then when you came on to Encyclopocalypse, as we were talking earlier, can you talk about what Encyclopocalypse plan is for the Bone Cutters?
Well, I wasn't sure. I wrote Chisel the Bone as a standalone novel because I was shopping it to other publishers. And I knew that if I was going to try to publish a sequel with a different publisher from book one, then they would want it to be a standalone. But it just so happened that when it was accepted by Encyclopocalypse, my contract for the Bone Cutters was coming to an end. So then I just asked Sean at Encyclopocalypse, I'm like, hey, my contract's ending. Will you guys take over book 1? He's like, hell yeah, send it on over.
Okay.
So now and then Encyclopocalypse republished it in January with a new cover and everything, and looks great, and I'm all excited.
Okay. Now I understand that they're are they still planning on doing uh, publishing both book 1 and 2 together?
Oh yeah, they're issuing a special hardcover edition that will include both books in one.
Okay.
Because the Bone Cutters is only just a little over 100 pages.
Okay, and that's
So.
the I guess I'm not sure I get that. That's the difference between the a novel and a novella is pretty much the word, the word
Yeah.
count.
Yeah, because when I wrote the Bone Cutters, I was actually writing it for a submission call, and it had a word count limit. So I met that word count, and that's where I ended it, and I just kept it that way.
Okay.
And because I planned on writing book 2 anyway, so
Sweet.
I'm like, well, I'll leave it there and jump back in book 2.
Okay. All right, but the Chisel the Bone is a full, bigger
Full novel.
bigger book.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Let's see, where were we? Yeah, Dory and Jill. So yeah, their story, and it seems like you have like a few different strings of a storyline going on here. You have for it with Dory and Jill, then you have the is it the NA counselor at the hospital?
Yes. Clyde at the hospital. Yeah, he's the counselor of the NA group.
Okay.
And the NA group is filled with bone cutters.
Okay. So I get the impression that Clyde is Clyde a dealer of this dust, bone dust?
Well, he runs the counseling group filled with bone cutters, and in the hospital, he helps him and his patients target other patients. It comes out in the book pretty early on. They tend to target the suicidals and the junkies, like the heroin junkies, and they target them as new sources to recruit into their cult, as well as to carve into to get more drugs.
Yeah, and that's a wild thing that I noticed, and when I read Chisel the Bone, it's like it's almost like these how these vampires, like in True Blood, you had these people that would be willingly giving their blood or getting bit and sucked on by vampires and stuff. They're like don't, and then you have, and I guess these are people that are at the support group in a sense that are donators to this drug.
Some are donors. Like in the Bone Cutters, there are 2 characters that are only discussed a little bit in Chisel the Bone because they're now in jail because of things that happened in the Bone Cutters, and it's Git Girl and her lackey Toodles, and Toodles is a donor.
Okay.
She will allow Git Girl to basically get bone dust from her. It's similar. I was going with that idea of the vampires. It's kind of a different take on a different type of vampiric type characters.
Yeah, and then another story string you have going on is that there's these grave robbers that are basically taking the robbing graves and taking the bone from the corpses and the skeletons and stuff and making the bone dust drug. There's like different street names for this thing, right? and they're using the skeleton and stuff to come up with stuff. So they get two sources. Now is
and like Clyde works in the hospital. He's kind of using that as kind of an in to not have to go back to digging graves to get his fix and to get his drugs to sell. He'd rather be able to tap into new patients rather than go dig graves.
Okay. All right. So Clyde was a user, but in the previous book, or?
Yeah, he was the group counselor. He was the counselor of the NA group in book 1 also.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in book 1.
All right. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I get the. I guess I gotta get a hold of book 1 and.
Yeah, you do.
And I'll just consider it a prequel, you know. So,
exactly. You'll fill in some of those blanks that you're curious about, you know.
So you got that, and then you got some stuff going on at the psychiatric hospital where I think it's the head nurse Freya. Is that her name?
Yes, Freya.
And there's some stuff going on there where people are breaking in or sneaking in and getting the bone that way as well. And can you touch a bit upon the supernatural aspect of it, because you have some kind of a creature or and I can't remember if it was identified as a demon or just some kind of.
Yeah, there's a supernatural aspect outside of the hospital as well as inside of the hospital. And Dory and her friends are trying to her friends Jill as well as Tommy and Iree. Tommy and Iree are father and daughter who are actually janitors at the hospital, and that's how they first met Dory in book 1. And they're all trying to figure out what's going on with this supernatural aspect of it. They don't know how it's all linked, but it's somehow linked to Clyde and his counseling group.
Okay. So and so there's some kind of cult going on, which I think the cult is the cult members are the ones that are grave robbing, correct?
Well,
or is that spelled out? Or that I think it's just that. That's what I.
Not all of them are. It's not like every bone cutter in the book all hangs out and helps each other. You know what I mean? Like Clyde's got his group of patients that kind of work like a cult. But there are also instances of crimes happening where people are getting carved open and their bones are getting chiseled, and the detectives and the cops are trying to figure out, like, what the frick is going on here? And then there are grave robberies happening across the state where the bones are getting stolen.
Okay.
You know, and then you've got this stuff going on in the hospital. And through the whole book, Detective Landry and her partner come into the mix, that Dory tries to help them figure out how all of it's connected.
Okay. So they're
and not all of it is figured out in this book, obviously, which is why there's going to be a book 3.
Okay.
That's why I keep saying somehow they're trying to figure out who's connected to who and what's connected to what, and
whether even all these things, the grave robbing, the stuff going on in the hospital, with what Clyde's doing, stuff like that,
right?
Whether any of that is connected, because
right.
if this is like a street drug that everybody's going on, you might have, different gangs or just doing what they need to do to get their fix.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Very very good. Yeah. So there's a lot of wheels turning going on in this book. So Now the supernatural aspect of it of this like I don't know this monster or demon or whatever it was it prevalent in the first book, because Dory seems to be it seems to me that this is the first time Dory has heard about this.
Yeah, it's not in book one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Was it always kind of like looming in the background and just waiting to make its appearance known?
Yes, exactly. In book one, the supernatural aspect that's going on in the hospital is alluded to a number of times. And but yeah, there's no the creature on the outside of the hospital never appears in book one because we're never outside of the hospital in book one. The Bone Cutters takes place entirely in the psychiatric hospital.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I enjoyed the book. It's like I say, it's almost like a horror mystery. Um, where like I said, you got a variety of different story lines going on, um, and it's like where does this all fit in with one another? Why am I reading this part of the story, or why is this irrelevant? That type of thing. So yeah, it sounds like I need to go back and read the Bone Cutters, or wait until it's like Apocalypse comes out with their dual volume.
Yeah, the 2-in-1.
But yeah, so Chisel the Bone is coming out July 23rd, 2024. So available through Apocalypse. Now, usually when I have an author on, I have them read an excerpt from their book to give people a bit of a teaser of what's in it and what the writing style is. And so, do you have a favorite passage from the book that you like to read?
Yeah, I was actually going to read your favorite passage.
Oh, the prologue.
I'm going to start right from page 1. Ready?
Before you even get into chapter 1, this is how the book starts.
Yes.
Talk about a hook just grabbing you and yanking you in. It's like, oh shit, I gotta read this.
All right, here's my little teaser from Chisel the Bone, starting right from page 1. The carver, the collector, and the stitcher. The cloth secured in his mouth, knotted tight behind his head, prevents him from screaming. A blindfold stretches across his eyes. The white-hot sting of the blade slicing through the skin of his shin makes him grit his teeth. Only a whimper escapes. Buck knife in hand, the carver gets down to the bone quickly. Twin serpent-like scars run up the outside of both of the carver's forearms. They writhe and pulse as he uses the edge of the blade to shave and peel the flesh away from the outer layer of dense, compact bone. After uncovering a large area, he reaches out and swaps the knife for a chisel and mallet. Like a modern-day Michelangelo, he begins whittling away at the victim's tibia, the bigger of the two shin bones, careful not to go too deep. Serpent scars slither around while he works. Every hit of the mallet sends a shaking jolt through the restrained man. The chair legs rattle against the tiled floor with every jostle. Ankles zip-tied to the wooden chair legs. Wrists zip-tied to each side of the back of the chair. Tears soak the blindfold and leak down his cheeks from underneath. Snot bubbles at his nostrils. Strands of his shaggy brown hair stick to his sweaty forehead. Rather than creating a work of art, the carver extracts bone shavings. With the help of the collector, who stands beside him, curls of shaved bone pile up on a sheet of tinfoil. These ribbons of victory will get dried and crushed to dust at a later time. From behind the carver, someone with gnarly scarred knuckles passes the collector a second sheet of tinfoil. They swap the filled foil for the empty. The carver reaches for a new tool. A small utility knife takes the place of the chisel and mallet. Rapid shaving motions slide down the tibia over and over and over again. More whimpering, more chair rattling. Sibling serpents shake and slither along with every movement of the carver's arms. Little bits of bone pile up on the tinfoil this time. This second batch is for immediate consumption. Mixed with blood, the pile of bone fragments looks similar to sticky black tar heroin. Bone cutters call it dark heaven, or red sugar, or simply dust. Deal done, the stitcher steps out of the shadows, thread and needle held in grotesquely scarred hands, to seal the wound. The victim no longer whimpers. The victim no longer cries. The victim passed out moments ago, head hung low, chin to chest. Whether from shock or blood loss is of no concern to the carver, the collector, and the stitcher. They're only here for the dust and the high that will come with it, as well as the money they'll make off what they don't smoke, snort, or ingest themselves. The stitcher feels thankful, not just for the high to come and the money they'll make. It sure is easier to stitch the wound without all that shaking and blubbering from a few moments ago. The needle and thread zips back and forth through the flesh as smoothly as a whisper floating with the wind. That's all.
Wow. So, so it's a 3-person job then.
I guess so. I've never tried it.
when I read that prologue, it's like I have a long medical history of crap that I've went to, and one of them that I have not so fond memories of is getting a bone marrow biopsy, and I've affectionately called it drilling for oil. That's almost what it feels like. And so when I read that part, I was like, oh yeah. It's like, let's bring it back. PTSD is coming.
Oh no!
So,
sorry to bring all that back to you.
But wow. So yeah, that's how Chisel the Bone starts out, and it just goes from there. So thank you so much, Renee. So let's talk a bit about. Are you still doing the what is it? What's the name we get? Scars Aligned. You still in that band?
Oh, yes. Actually, we just got a new lead guitar player too. So
okay.
Hopefully, we'll actually get something done. We've been kind of a little stalled for a while, so but now we've got a new lead guitar player who has the same kind of work ethic as the rest of us. So
okay.
So now things will start moving forward.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, so what are your do you do like original songs, or what kind of songs do you guys write?
Yep. We do all original, and it's kind of a mix. It's kind of hard to classify. It's really punkish, but it's kind of got a kind of metal edge. The new guitar player, like whenever people ask me like, what does it sound like, or what is, because we don't have anything recorded yet, I never really know how to classify it. But now that we have the new guitar player, he came back saying the way he describes it is if it's a combination of like Joan Jett and Pantera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He basically said if Joan Jett and Phil Anselmo had a kid, then that would be me.
Okay. That's a good. Yeah, I could see that. All right. So yeah. Once you get like a demo or something together, or
That's
a Bandcamp or a SoundCloud thing.
All those things are in the plans. Yeah, because our new lead guitar player comes with he's more tech savvy than the rest of us. So, and he has mobile recording studio.
Okay.
So we're going to be able to record all of our stuff, and I mean, and I'm hoping to do a band camp. We may do a YouTube channel. I'm sure we'll eventually, once we get really good recordings, we'll try to get our stuff on Spotify. But I mean, we really want to play out. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, we're a live band. So that's the biggest goal for us, is because it's fun. We've all been musicians our whole life, and we just want to have fun and share our music with people. And the best way to do that is on stage. I mean, and just like Clutch says, if you're going to do it live on stage, or don't do it at all. So that's what we want to do.
Very good. Excellent. I've gone to. It takes a lot for me to actually be able to get out of the house because of like mobility issues, but it's wild because the last. I think that one of the last concerts I went to was Ginger, and it was pretty wild because I'm sitting there. It was general admission, so it's like standing room. There's no seats.
Right.
So I got my little walker in the front row area. My walker has like one of those things that you can lock down and sit on. So
yeah.
So I'm sitting on my walker.
Nice.
That's like Ginger.
You got your own seat right there. That's awesome.
But yeah, and they had the mosh pit going on behind me, and the surfing and stuff like that. It's like, but it was wild. It's wild because like the security guy was like right in front of me in that little pit that they have. He saw me standing there, so every time he saw somebody surfing in my direction, he made sure to like try to grab the person above me because I wasn't gonna fucking carry him.
Right. Yeah.
If it's up to me, he's gonna hit the ground. So it's like,
well, that's a good security guard right there.
So, yeah, they have a good staff there.
Yeah, I love watching the mosh pits, but I don't get into them because I'm 5'2", 105 pounds, and they'll just toss me all around. I'll get crushed in there.
There's nothing like live music.
They're so true.
It's great, and the cool thing is I think with, and I'm not sure if. Because I listen to all kinds of music, but I very rarely have gone to. Like it's been a few decades since I've gone to a country music concert. I think maybe the last person I saw there at country music is like Hank Williams Jr. or I think that. So anyway, but So I don't know what the crowd or reception is nowadays, but it seems to me, at least from going to Ginger and a few other bands, I saw Ministry was another concert I went to.
Nice.
The crowd is just very, very accepting. Even if it's just a headliner, they'll headbang and cheer and yell for your music too, even if they don't know, they've never heard of you before.
Yeah.
So it's
it's great.
It's just a very accepting group of people when people outside of that circle don't typically equate that with with heavy metal and headbangers,
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of like the horror community. It's like, you think they're going to be mean and nasty, and it's like, oh my gosh, no, they're the nicest bunch of people you'll ever meet. It's the same with metalheads. The nicest people you'll ever meet. You know why? they get all the aggression out through their art. They let it all out, release it all, and you're good to go. You know?
I saw a documentary about that once, and I'll just I guess they it was kind of clickbaity, but they kind of advertised it as like the inner world of heavy metal and death metal and black metal and all that stuff. And they're interviewing these band members that have like this really damn near fucked up and demonic stuff going on with their makeup, and they're talking about philosophy and so just chilling out, and it's like, but that's one of the points that they made is like they're just letting all this stuff out. They're not burying this anger and aggression and stuff inside where it's just going to explode, and they're letting it all out.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised with how many metal musicians a lot of them will write songs about literature they've read. Like I remember watching a documentary on Mastodon, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm in a metal band and I read too. Can you believe it?"
And it's not just coloring books,
Right.
Yeah, and the same with the horror community. It's like it's one of the first guests, actually the first guest I had on the Horror Geek Dungeon was David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown in Terrifier movies, and he used to be, if I remember correctly, he used to be a teacher. And he's the nicest guy I've ever met.
Yeah, I used to be a teacher. I used to teach preschool, and I was also a therapeutic mentor and worked in the psychiatric field as well. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I actually worked in a psych hospital for a very short time.
Oh wow. Okay. Now.
Some of my inspiration actually comes from that job.
Okay, I was going to ask you that. How much of that job led to, I guess, the theme and the motifs of the bone cutters? Not the bone dust shit, but just
not that.
Just the way the environment of a psychiatric hospital.
Right. Yeah. I know how it runs, and I know different things about day-to-day goings on in the psychiatric hospital. At least the one I worked in. I might not be the same in all of them. So.
All right. So yeah, that certainly helps. Now we mentioned earlier that you're contributing to it says in your bio, it's like you have a new story forthcoming in late 2024 in the Phantoms from the Sky anthology.
Yes.
So you're so what can you talk about what story you're contributing to that?
Yes, it's actually the anthology's a book of stories about first contact, and my story is called Rex and Roxy's Roadside Cafe and Glass Emporium.
Oh, okay.
It's a mouthful, yeah. It takes place in New Mexico, so.
Okay. It's so it's like an alien or Area 51 type of thing.
Yeah. It's it takes place in a little town south of Roswell.
Okay. Excellent. Well, let's see.
And I also have I'm working on a book that's coming out in 2025. It's a co-author book in the Try Not to Die book series from Bitseer Press. Is it press or publications? With Mark Tullius and Wes Levine. And the Try Not to Die book series that Mark has, it's a choose-your-own-adventure horror novels.
Okay.
But the one we're working on, I don't really like to call it a choose-your-own-adventure. It's more like a choose-your-own-path, because we're taking on, the title is called Try Not to Die by Your Own Hand, and we're taking on the topic of suicide.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's heavy.
All
It's
right.
hip stuff, man.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I could relate to that. So, I,
Yeah,
I,
Wes and I have lost loved ones to suicide, and we've dealt with suicide ideation in our
mhm.
past. So we kind of all speak from experience. So we thought maybe writing about it might help others.
Okay, it's excellent. Yeah, any way to like uh, normalize is not a right word, but just knowing that other people are going through this is like because
Yes.
one of the things that I and we feel that I personally, and I'm sure you could understand, is like it's like we're all alone in this. We're all alone in the world, and
And
so
that's, yeah, and that's typically how people will feel, that they're just all alone. And it's a way of thinking. It's a trap that your mind gets into. Uh, and yeah, that's what we're trying to reach out and let people know, that you're not alone, and there are multiple options, um, besides going through with that dreaded deed that you can't come back from.
right, right, yeah, and I just encourage anybody who's uh, having suicidal ideations. There are options. There are other options.
Yes.
Even if you know, uh, to talk to a family member, someone you trust.
Yes, and I mean, in my book, Dory kind of rags on her counselors, but she ends up realizing, like, well, geez, shit, I think they were really onto something with some of the stuff they've been telling me to do. I think it might actually work when I start actually trying to make it work for me. And I mean, I highly recommend counseling to everyone. I mean, even if you're not dealing with big stuff, even the little stuff, it helps to have somebody that's completely outside
Right,
of the situation. They're not emotionally invested. They're not, there's no bias. They're not involved in your life except with being your counselor and listening and helping you figure out, how to make things better.
right. And for anybody out there that are saying, oh, therapy is too expensive and stuff like that. I was able to get my counselor and therapist that she does a on a sliding scale.
Yes.
So I'm on
Many do that.
yeah
Yeah.
I'm on disability. I can't afford $100 an hour or whatever they
Right.
charge. So
Mm-hmm.
seek out a therapist in your area, and especially since the whole COVID and quarantine stuff, a lot of people are starting to do FaceTime therapy.
Yes.
So you could do, if someone's not within driving distance to you, you could do one in a few counties over and
Yeah.
do like a FaceTime thing. That's
You can even do it over the phone.
yeah,
There are many counselors that will do it over the phone, because there's such a stigma with dealing with mental health, and admitting that you need help. Like, I am a prime example. I do not like to ask for help. I'm always like, I can do it myself. I'm fine. I can handle this. I can get through anything. But everybody needs help. Everybody needs help at some point. And it's hard to bring yourself to be face to face, looking in somebody's eyes and telling them all the shit you're thinking, or all the stuff you're going through.
yeah,
And sometimes it's easier if you're just on the phone and you're not looking them in the face. Whatever helps you just get it out. And there are counselors out there, like you said, they'll do FaceTime, they'll do phone calls, and a lot of people do. They live in rural areas. They might not have transportation.
yeah. Well, Renee, thank you so much for coming into the dungeon.
Thank
Uh,
you for having me.
I'm glad when people aren't too scared to come in and they hear that it's like, oh, it's out there. It won't hurt you too bad. Not permanently anyway. Uh, so, but yeah, if people want to find out more about you and what you're working on, where could they go?
Well, I'm on Facebook, just right under my author name, Renee S. DeCamillis. I'm on Instagram, also, no secret screen name. It's Renee S. DeCamillis, and I'm also on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And I also have a website that's also under just reneesdecamillis.com.
All
I
right.
try to keep that updated as much as I can, but so many people are on social media, it seems like all my time ends up there.
Yeah. So, and we'll have the links to those things in the description and the doobly doo down below and stuff like that. So you can look that up directly there. So, Renee, thank you so much for coming on. And
Thank you.